If you're feeling confused by the chaotic patterns in today's world, you're not alone. Many of us watch news cycles with a sense of deja vu, wondering why humanity seems to be trapped in recurring patterns. This is how understanding history can transform your perspective and help you navigate today's challenges with greater wisdom and purpose. This video is for you if you want to make more informed decisions based on historical patterns and avoid repeating past mistakes and gain a deeper understanding of yourself and the world around you. Be sure to stay until the end, save the video for later, or be sure to subscribe and ring the bell so that you don't miss my next episode. Hello, I'm Dr. RB. I'm a licensed psychologist in the state of New York and Florida. If you've been to my channel, welcome back. It's great to have you. If you're new here, on this channel, I bridge together many topics of interest from depth psychology to ancient wisdom traditions to spirituality, human design, and various therapeutic techniques to create a unique approach to healing and growth. My mission is to help you connect deeply with your authentic self and divine guidance while navigating our rapidly changing world. So let's get into it. Let me share something that might surprise you. History isn't just names and dates in a dusty textbook. It's actually a living force that shapes our present reality in ways most people never recognize. The patterns of the past don't just disappear. They echo through time, often operating beneath our conscious awareness. Consider these remarkable historical patterns and parallels. In the shadow of a looming global conflict in the 1940s, Senator Ernest Lundin of Minnesota emerged as one of the strongest voices against American intervention. His passionate rhetoric captivated many isolationists as he vowed in a dramatic 1939 NBC radio address never to vote an American dollar or drop of American blood into the quarrels of Europe. Of course, there was a whole ocean separating the U.S. from Europe. Behind closed doors in Washington, the senator's influence was growing. He proposed bold, controversial ideas like seizing British territories in the West Indies to settle old war debts. That raised eyebrows across Congress. Though dismissed by many colleagues, these provocative suggestions caught attention in unexpected places. As the war engulfed Europe at the time, Lundin's speeches became more pointed. He dismissed concerns about Hitler's ambitions, insisting Germany merely sought to reclaim what was rightfully theirs after the First World War, or the Great War as it was called. What few Americans realized was that these compelling arguments weren't totally Lundin's own ideas. They were actually carefully crafted by narratives provided by George Sylvester Viereck, a Nazi propagandist with direct financial ties to the German embassy, who had funded the financially struggling senator, a willing vessel for German propaganda. Now let's look at another disturbing historical pattern. In 1900, he created the lunar Porsche. Yeah, that Porsche. Semper Vivus, a pioneering hybrid vehicle combining electric wheel hub motors with combustion engines, a technology decades ahead of its time. But history took a sinister turn when the brilliant engineer founded a powerful union with his patron, Adolf Hitler. Tasked with creating Hitler's vision of a people's car, Porsche designed what would become the iconic Volkswagen Beetle. Their relationship deepened as Porsche joined the Nazi Party and rose to the rank of SS Oberfuhrer, cementing his allegiance to the regime. As war erupted, the gleaming Volkswagen factory transformed into something far more disturbing. Behind its walls, thousands of forced laborers, prisoners of war, concentration camp inmates, and civilians from occupied territories worked under brutal conditions. Many died from exhaustion, starvation, and abuse while building vehicles for the Third Reich. Meanwhile, Porsche's talents extended beyond civilian automobiles. His engineering genius was redirected towards designing tanks and military machinery for the Nazi war machine, further entangling his legacy with one of history's darkest chapters. So the man that once illuminated the future of transportation with hybrid technology at the time had become entrenched in humanity's darkest hour. A stark reminder of how innovation and horror can sometimes travel the same road. This is where the concept of the collective unconscious becomes profoundly important. And before we get into that, I just want to reiterate that when we talk about forced labor, we're talking about slavery. And that's exactly at the beginning who was used to build these Volkswagen Beetles. So let's circle back around. As a psychologist, you know I'm going to bring this back to psychology. And so this is where the concept of the collective unconscious becomes really important. And this is the work of Carl Jung, the founder of analytical psychology or Jungian psychology. Carl Jung theorized that beyond our personal unconscious lies a deeper layer of consciousness we all share, filled with universal symbols, patterns, and narratives that repeat throughout human history. And when we remain ignorant of history, we're basically becoming unconscious participants in these recurring patterns. Consider how many of today's challenges echo historical precedents. Economic inequality that mirrors the Gilded Age, technology disruptions comparable to the Industrial Revolution, and polarization reminiscent of various historical periods of social division. Without historical awareness, we're like actors who don't realize that we're really reading from an ancient script. But here's the empowering truth. Conscious knowledge of history gives you the ability to step outside of these patterns. And this is a word I'm going to repeat over and over because it's so important. When you understand historical dynamics, you gain a form of psychological freedom that most people never experience. This knowledge transforms your daily life in practice. You become less reactive to manipulative messaging when you recognize the historical techniques being employed. You make more informed financial decisions, for example, when you understand the historical economic patterns. You build stronger relationships when you recognize how cultural and historical forces have shaped different perspectives. Studying history also provides a profound form of perspective that enhances well-being. The challenges you face today, whether personal, professional, or societal, are rarely unique. It's almost like someone had said, there's nothing new under the sun. And that is so true. Throughout history, humans have confronted similar obstacles and have often found ingenious solutions. This knowledge doesn't diminish your struggle, but it does provide context and often reveals tested pathways forward. History offers a powerful antidote to isolation. In our individualistic culture, we often feel alone in our struggles. But having a historical awareness connects you to the broader human history. Your challenges and triumphs become part of a continuous narrative, stretching across generations. There's profound psychological comfort in this connection. So let me share a personal example. During a particular challenging time in my life, I was drawn to study various historical figures and navigated their own dark times. For example, I didn't know that President Abraham Lincoln had managed depression while leading the Civil War, or how Viktor Frankl found meaning in concentration camps. These things did not only inspire me, it fundamentally changed how I understood my own challenges. This is the transformative potential of historical consciousness. It's not about memorizing facts, which is one of my biggest pet peeves. Is that in school, that's what they teach you. Memorize dates, memorize names. That's not important. What's important is recognizing patterns. Remember that word? And extracting wisdom that applies to your life today. That is the key to history. So how can you begin developing this historical consciousness? Start by approaching history with curiosity rather than obligation. Follow your interests. So for example, if you're interested in the military history, social movements, go there. Technological development, that's another form of history, or any other aspect that naturally engages you. The specific entry point really doesn't matter. It's developing the habit of having historical thinking or historic mindset. When consuming news, practice asking, what historical parallel might help me to understand what's going on? And it's interesting because, for example, on the Rachel Maddow show on MSNBC, I really enjoyed when she would bring the historian, and I'm really bad with names, she would bring this historian on her shows and always ask, has this happened before? And what she was getting at was she wanted to find the meaning behind the current situation or the current event. This simple question of asking what has happened before and how it helps me to understand the current situation activates historical consciousness and often reveals surprising insights. Consider creating a historical wisdom journal. That's another good thing you could do. And I would start with your family's history. That's another form of history that's so important because it's related much more closer to your life. When you record historical insights that seem applicable to your life, this practice bridges the gap between historical knowledge as well as practical application. Remember that developing historical consciousness isn't about becoming a professional historian. That's not the goal here. It's about cultivating an awareness of the patterns that have shaped human experience and using that awareness to live more intentionally today. When we understand that much of what troubles our world today, that it has a historical precedent, that there's something that happened in the past very similar, we gain something precious: hope. History shows that humans have overcome seemingly insurmountable challenges before. There have been many dark periods that eventually give way to new possibilities. This perspective doesn't guarantee positive outcomes, we know that, but it does reveal that change, often positive change, is a historical constant. As Carl Jung wisely observed, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. I love that line. By understanding history, you illuminate the unconscious patterns operating in your life and in the life of humanity. Operating in the life of society, transforming what might seem like fate into conscious choice. History isn't just about the past. It's also about consciously creating a better future by understanding the patterns that have brought us to this moment. When you develop historical consciousness, you're not just studying about what happened before, you're also developing the wisdom to shape what happens next. Follow the link in the comments for resources to help you develop historical consciousness if that's something that really interests you, and apply these insights to your daily life and your daily practice. Until next time, remember that understanding history isn't just academic, it's a powerful tool for personal transformation and conscious living in our complex world. If you'd like to know more, there's a link below. If you want to work closer with me, I'm opening up 10 new slots for new clients. And so if you would think that this would be a good match, there's a link below to get 15 minutes to see if we're a good fit to work together. Again, subscribe, share this with someone you think might need to hear this, and ring that bell so you don't miss our next one. On the next episode, I like to really look at what are some lessons that we can learn from history and apply them today to make it a little more practical. Until then, this is Dr. RB. Take care.